Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and you guys, I hope today is being an epic day for you. I hope you're having a ton of fun. I just hope that you are really rocking and rolling with your life and all the things you're doing. And if not, let's change it, guys. You only have one life to live. So if it's not all the things and all the pieces that you want it to be, guess what? You get to change that. Sometimes it feels impossible. Don't worry. I've definitely felt that way before. Hands down. Hands down, I felt that way before. And guess what? My plea to you is you actually can change it. You can change your life. We work so hard at our jobs and we are with those people all day long. If you're not loving it, change it. Make it to where it's something that you absolutely love because we've only got one life to live and I'm committed to living the best life I possibly can. Realizing most of it is up to me. It's who I surround myself with. It's who I hang out with. It's what things I focus on. All of those things are what are going to make it that way. So guys, take it in your control. This is your life and make it the absolute best life it can be. With that, guys, I really wanted to dive into a topic that I think is all about execution. How do we actually execute? I hope you're ready for it. And before I get into that topic, I want you guys, if you haven't, please go leave us a review. Those 5 stars help us a ton because what they do is they actually help us connect with more offices. If you don't know, the Dental Team was founded a few years ago because I wanted it to be a company where we could go in and give offices what I wished I would have had as an office manager, as a practice owner, as a dental assistant, treatment coordinator. You guys, I never have worked with a consultant, not once. Nothing that we do in our company comes from actual other consulting companies. We make it up because we're thinking about what do you need? What does your practice need? And what do we wish we would have had to actually get results that were realistic? That's why we exist. And so our mission is to positively impact the world of dentistry in the greatest way possible. To help people realize, guess what? Life can be awesome. You can truly have your dream job. You can truly do all the things you want and you can do it with ease. I think we're about to debate it. So I'm releasing this early before it's been truly hashed. I think our new slogan is going to be, what if this could be easy? What if accountability could be easy? What if hiring a team could be easy? What if having a profitable practice could be easy? What if having a team that has ownership could be easy? And I'm here to tell you that it can, but it ties into consistent execution. So if we have been able to help you in any way reach those goals, maximize your life, please leave us those 5 stars and help us on our mission to positively impact the world of dentistry in the greatest way possible. I can only produce great content. It's up to you guys to share the podcast. So easy ways to do it. Put us on your social media. Take a picture in the car right now of you driving and tag us on social so friends and colleagues see it. Go post it in a Facebook group. If this is super helpful, go post it in your Facebook group. If you think this podcast is worthwhile, text it out to your team and have them listen to it or send it to a college friend, someone you went to dental school with, share it. And lastly, leave those 5 stars. They help a ton and they put us at the top of the list. So when people are looking for dental podcasts, we'll pop up as one of the top ones. They'll see your reviews and they'll start listening along like you are. All right, let's talk about execution. And if you didn't do any of those things, this podcast really is made for you on how we execute. Because what I've been noticing is there's a lot of information on the podcast. There's a lot of information on other podcasts. There's a lot of information in books. There's a lot of information at CE. And one of my favorite quotes is actually by Tony Robbins. And he said, a lot of learning is just remembering. I'm going to say that again. A lot of learning is just remembering. The things I talk about on the podcast, some of them might be radical new ideas, but a lot of them are just ideas that you haven't implemented. And why is that? That leads me to another quote. I don't have the exact person, so just know it's a quote. It's not a Kiera Dent quote. But they say, no man walks into the same river twice, for he is not the same man, and the river is not the same river. And I love thinking about that. I can walk through the exact same river. So Kiera and the river could be the exact same. So Kiera as a person is technically still a person, and this river is technically still a river. But guess what? Who I am today versus who I was 6 months ago versus who I was 10 years ago versus what that river was. Things change, things dry up, things become more rocky, things become easier. All of these things are realistic pieces. And guess what? All of this means that we're constantly changing, adapting. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a similar CE event, a similar experience, and it's all this stuff that I wasn't either ready for, I wasn't prepared for, my mind's eye wasn't geared to it. And that is, honest to goodness, what it's like when we're listening to the podcast. And that's why I wanted to talk about execution. So a lot of these ideas, if you have not gone back to the beginning of the podcast, I might suggest go back. There are so many gems. I try really hard to not do repeat episodes, repeat ideas. I will add different flares to them. And trust me, 3 years into this, 3 podcasts a week, you better believe it's a lot of ideas. And so with that, there's so much out there, so much information. How do you actually execute? Are you guys sick of trying to figure it out on your own? I know I am. When I'm trying to run a business, sometimes I just think there's got to be a better way to do this. And so for me, my answer has been to find someone who's done it and does it really, really, really well. I'm talking the best of the best of the best. I want someone who's been in my shoes, somebody who understands what I'm going through. When I was looking for the consulting business, I found a coach who literally has run a consulting business. Well, that seems like the perfect fit. So you guys, right now, we have a few spaces open in our Platinum Consulting. That is in the consulting where we actually come to your practice. We help you get systems implemented. We don't just tell you what systems to implement. We actually implement them with you and for you. You guys, it is one of the best investments I've ever made is to hire a coach who understands the business I'm in, who's lived it, who's done it. And that's what we in the Dental team do. We literally physically fly to you. So if you're sick of trying to figure it out on your own, if you just want somebody who understands you, join our Platinum. I'd love to have you. I'd love to have our consulting team come out and see you, be in your office, be with your team, and truly help you get onto the easy path of dentistry. It doesn't have to be hard. So join us in the Platinum. We'd love to have you. So number one is just consuming information to me is good, right? I listen to a lot of books, but every time I listen to something, I take at least one note of something I'm going to take from that. And then I go back and reread a lot of things. So I've got books that I will reread over and over and over and over and over again. Podcasts that I will listen to over and over and over again. And oftentimes I'll go search by topics. So right now, something I'm trying to work on is optimal living, meaning balance. I'm obsessed with work, guys. I go after numbers. I think that might be a huge reason why Dental team has so much passion bleeding through it. I love what I do. I love the clients we work with, but my health might not be its greatest. I might physically look great on the outside. Thank you. But inside, I don't feel as great. I can't move as well as I used to. I don't go running all the time. My job used to be a very active dental assistant, moving all around. My job required my arms to work, my legs to work. I was up and down all day long. When I worked at the dental college, I used to rack in the steps every single day. I was huffing and puffing every single day. I was running. I was active. I was exercising. Then I became a business owner, and holy moly, it's there feels like there's never enough time in a day. And that's just because I don't know how to juggle that as well. So balancing that, learning from that. Have I heard this? Yeah, I've heard this for about, 36 years, but I wasn't ready to receive it. And so from everything that I consume, when I read books, I take notes on them. And then for me, the way I do it, because a lot of execution is either one, I create something where I'm going to implement it immediately. I try really hard to implement something immediately. That's step one. Take something from that book, implement it immediately. The second thing with execution is to truly calendar it. So if I hear some great ideas that I know I can't implement immediately, I'm going to calendar it. So for me, the easiest way I calendar it is I actually create emails of those topics, and I use an app called Boomerang for Gmail, and I will forward it to me to the time when I know I'll be able to work on it. So I might be adding it to a quarterly idea. I might be adding it to a consultant collaboration if I want to teach our consultants it. I might be adding it to just a reminder email. So things like, I just read the book Effortless by Greg McKeown, and I love that he said, what if this could be easy? So that boomerangs to my inbox every 2 to 4 weeks, and I see it and it keeps popping up. Sometimes if there's something I really want to implement, I will actually take a picture of me and my husband or something fun, and I will write that and put it on my phone screensaver, because I believe we can just consume so much knowledge, but if we're never executing, implementing, what is this knowledge serving us for? So take notes. Take notes. Guys, this podcast has a bajillion ideas. So many so that you probably can't implement all of them. So go back and re-listen. Go back to the beginning or go to our website, thedentalaidteam.com, and search topics. You guys, I put it all out there. I hold nothing back. I probably should. We might get more clients if I did. But to me, I'm like, I'm going to add so much value. And if you can implement on your own, go for it. And if you're reading and you're realizing I am not implementing, guess what? That's when you should email us, hello@thedentalaidteam.com, and let's start executing and chipping things off. If we try to implement everything, pretty much nothing gets done. So I try to find topics. I try to learn on things I want to get better at. You might not know. So sometimes listening to things like, I had no idea I wanted to eat healthier, except for the fact that this year my goal is to be in the best shape of my life. Then I started reading a book called The Plant Paradox. I still have no idea how I feel about all of that, but it was really interesting, and I actually implemented cutting out certain kinds of nuts and eating more macadamia nuts. That might sound ludicrous, but guess what? I cut that out, changed it. I also got their cookbook, and my goal is to make at least one recipe a month. We're also trying to get pregnant. I've shared that a couple of times, and we're going through IVF. I read a book, It Starts with the Egg, and you better believe my eating diet has cleaned up exponentially. So between Plant Paradox and It Starts with the Egg, you guys, you better believe my health is getting a lot better. My brain fog is gone. My energy is back. But that's because I'm focusing on my health and that balance this year. If I wouldn't have been, do you think I would have cared as much about the Plant Paradox? Probably not. Do you think I would have really taken to heart It Starts with the Egg? Maybe, maybe not. But these are things I'm actually implementing. I have not implemented everything from the book It Starts with the Egg, but guess what? I've got about 20 to maybe 40% of it done, and I do go back and reread it pretty periodically to make sure I'm in check with that. The things that I can realistically do. So for you guys with execution, it all comes down to one, you've got to either implement it right away. So things I'm talking about today, calendar out some things. There's topics you've done. If you're like, I haven't listened to the Dental Aid Team from the beginning, go start there. So like the next time you come on, you guys, you can put me on 2 times the speed. You can crank through all those topics, one after another, so many topics. Or if you're like, you know what, my biggest problem right now is I want to improve my case acceptance. Go to our website, thedentalaidteam.com, and search case acceptance. Every podcast where I talk about case acceptance will pull up for you. And go start checking them off the list. And then you've got to implement things. So take one idea and actually implement it. Maybe put it in a team meeting. Maybe do it at your quarterly team meetings. If you don't have team meetings, maybe start with getting team meetings. You can do it at morning huddle. The thing is, you've got to implement it, and you've got to allow it to ride until it becomes a habit. Sometimes that's a week. Sometimes it's a month. Sometimes it's 3 months. Sometimes it's 6 months. I don't know. But I do know the minute I read traction, I was like, that's it. We're doing quarterly meetings. I scheduled all of those meetings out for the entire year. Did I know what I was going to do for 8 hours on Zoom? The answer was a hard pass no. But guess what? I knew it was important. I knew this was the direction I wanted to go. So it got into my calendar. I don't know about this people organizer, VTO. Like, what the heck does this mean? So I started writing it down. When I listened to the book, I hit pause and filled in the information. Then I came back to it. I finished that book to completion. I reread traction every single quarter. Because what am I focusing on? Balance, having a team that's moving forward. And really for me, the way I execute are on things I want to have. And if you've got a team who has problems executing, I might ask, have we made things too complex? Have we made it too hard for them to implement? Have you given too many new ideas that they can't actually gain traction? Because that's a good way to get your team to stop implementing. So for me, I'm an ideas generating machine. Shelby has a list of Kiera's great ideas. Those great ideas come back out every quarter, and we decide which ones are the most important to implement now. That way my ideas don't get lost, but they also aren't put into everybody's schedule super fast. That way people can actually gain traction. They can focus on one thing, they can win the goal, and we can actually make movement. So right now, our team is working on rolling out a whole new product. Surprise! It's coming. That's all our focus is on. I know. I want to improve our meetings. I want to improve this. I want to improve that. That is not the time or the place. So I've got to gain the information. I'm still reading. I try to read at least 1, if not 2 books per month. This last flight, I read 3 books. So it just depends on where I'm at. And I'm on the range of eating healthy to leadership to feminine genius to you name it, guys. I read so many to fiction. I just read a fun fiction book. But I'm always taking notes and trying to figure out where I can implement and execute. I can't execute every time. But if that book was a really solid book, I'm going to pin it to reread it. And I'm going to reread it consistently until I can master it. I don't think every book needs to be finished. I don't think every podcast needs to be finished. But I do believe in the power of execution. Even if it's one thing that you execute on from each podcast that you listen to, from each book that you read, even if it's taking that idea and putting it on your quarterly agenda, guess what? You took action from that knowledge you just got inside your brain. You found a way to execute on it. And I will say the most successful practices, the most successful leaders execute consistently. And they steady the course to make sure their teams can win and execute accordingly. Guys, try it out. It's truly a miracle when you can start executing. I gave you a ton of ideas. My job is not to hear to spoon feed you, to give it to you in step by step. I really did. Your job is to listen to it, take note, and take action. And with that, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental Team Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.